So last week, I released a spoiler-free deep dive into the new series of Doctor Who, Series 1. No, not that Series 1. Series 1? Series 1A? Oh god, this is already confusing. If you haven't seen it, my take on the new series is that Russell succeeds at injecting a sense of adventure, enthusiasm, and fun to the show. This was something that was sorely missing from the Chibnall era, and in that sense, it was a welcome return to form. But the bar was pretty low, right? And I did have some issues with this series. I wanted to expand on them in a full spoiler review, so here we go. Doctor Who should always be good at an ethical dilemma. One of the highlights from Series 1 for me was Boomtown. This was an episode which builds on the Slithian two-parter earlier in the series. You see, the Doctor faces a classic sci-fi ethical dilemma in this episode. He foils a plot from Margaret Blaine, the incognito Slithian mayor of Cardiff. Basically, she's trying to destroy the Earth and escape from it, and the Doctor decides to take her back to Raxacorico Phalloptorius.
I spit on them! I was born on their twin planet!
Really? What's the twin planet, Raxacorico Phalloptorius?
Clon.
But the Doctor learns from Margaret that the entire Slithian family has been convicted as criminals in what's implied as an unfair trial. As a result, if she goes home, she'll receive the death penalty. This opens up an ethical dilemma. If the Doctor takes her home, does he have a hand in her death? But if he lets her escape to start a new life, will she ever face justice for her crimes? And is this even his decision to make? Who is he to dish out justice? In the end, we get an answer. She's turned back into an egg and given a second chance at life. I think there was a missed opportunity with the Roger Ap Williams subplot to incorporate a classic ethical dilemma in the finale. We know from the Doctor's own words that Roger Ap Williams is the most dangerous Prime Minister in history, and it's revealed that when he was Prime Minister, he introduced mandatory DNA testing, which obviously violates all sorts of civil liberties. But the Doctor seemingly has no qualms about using this data to discover who Ruby Sunday's parents are. That's quite the ethical blind spot, right? I mean, there's this great episode of Star Trek Voyager called Nothing Human. In this episode, we explore the ethical quandary of using medical knowledge gained through torture.
He infected patients, exposed them to polytrinic acid, mutilated their living bodies. And now we're reaping the benefits of those experiments, medically.
Imagine how many lives would have been lost if I hadn't eliminated this disease.
That doesn't justify using people in laboratory experiments.
Despite the leap forward in medicine that the research would enable, what precedent would it set to the victims of torture? I would have liked to have seen the Doctor at least be a little bit hesitant about using this data, and I think this sums up the lack of a good ethical debate for this series to chew on. Russell as a writer is fantastically grounded in the real world, and you see this in Series 1 of Doctor Who and his other shows. He can craft these little moments in the mundane which are just so real, so human, and memorable in a totally different way to the grandiose speeches of a writer like Moffat. You see this in Series 1 with Rose and her family. Episode 1 is her introduction, so obviously we get a glimpse into her unsatisfying life before the Doctor. By episode 2, Rose confronts the reality that everything she knows is temporary. The Earth will one day be gone, and she speaks to her mum on the phone an incomprehensible amount of time after her death. She returns with a newfound sense of gratitude to the world and her place within it. By episodes 4 and 5, we're back on Rose's estate, and this time her family's changed. She's been missing for a whole year, and we learn about the jaded and cynical attitude they've taken towards the Doctor as a result. Rose's association with the Doctor begins to negatively impact on them even in her absence. What I'm getting at is that even as early as episode 5 in Series 1, Rose and her family are in vastly different positions to where we found them. Russell wastes no time in exploring how the Doctor might really impact somebody's life and that of those they love. I feel like this was absent from the new series, don't you? Ruby's family is very underdeveloped. We barely spent any time getting to know their family dynamic, and her adventures with the Doctor seem pretty inconsequential to their lives. It doesn't seem to cause any issues, conflicts, or even benefits to them. Ruby might as well just gone on a working holiday for a few weeks. I mean, who cares? By the end, we get a reunion of Ruby and her long-lost mother, which is nice, I guess, But I would have much rather spent that time exploring a meaningful arc with the foster family that was in Ruby's life. This all felt a little two-dimensional, and I think Russell can do a lot better. My last point to touch on is the Doctor himself. Christopher Eccleston in Series 1 may have had a short run, but he had a masterful arc. We all know this. His background of the Time War left him a broken man, or Time Lord. But by the end, through his adventures with Rose, he's learned to trust again. He's reclaimed this sense of self-confidence, and hints he's on the road to forgiving himself for the role in the Time War.
You were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you know what? So was I.
So what was Nshuti's arc in this series? The bi-generation has been left purposefully ambiguous in terms of how it actually works within the lore of the show, but I think I have the broad idea that this is basically a rebirth. You see, it's probably not a coincidence that the first 2 episodes of the series focused on babies. Ruby herself is an abandoned baby. The show is a baby in how it's back to Series 1. It's fresh and it's new to this world, and Nshuti's performance embodies this. He throws himself into situations with the excitement and optimism of innocence. He seems a little less wary and bogged down than his past incarnations. But I'd like to have seen this explored deeper. I mean, does he have a level of naivety in his youthful energy? Does his bounding around from place to place act as an Achilles heel that leads to big consequences? You see, Nshuti's Doctor at the start of the series is the fun, exciting spaceman ready to take you away. And at the end, he's the fun, exciting spaceman ready to take you away. I didn't really see any growth from him in that respect. Now, you could argue, as I did in my spoiler-free review, that this was intentional. I mean, the show really needed a safe pair of hands to make sure it recovered from the Chibnall era. But the task was just as large, if not larger, in 2005, and the Doctor's arc is what made Eccleston so beloved even to this day. Overall, I still think this series did a fantastic job of rebooting Doctor Who, but we're missing some of the key ingredients from Russell T Davies that really made his first era as showrunner and his other shows stand out. You know what I mean, the ethical dilemmas, the relatable characters, and the Doctor's own journey. As I said in my spoiler-free review, I think Russell can get away with this for Series 1, given just how low the bar was, but he really needs to step up his game with Series 2. But what I am is I'm optimistic that there is still time to do this, and the best is yet to come. Cheers for watching, guys. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.